for the family members of these Israeli hostages, the nightmare continues as they're left in limbo. And joining us now is Moshe Lavi. He's the brother-in-law of Omri Miran, 46-year-old father who was taken captive on October 7th by Hamas terrorists from Kibbutz Nir Oz. He left his wife, Lishai, and their two small daughters behind. His little girls are both under the age of 3. One is under a year old. She was 6 months when Omri was taken. So Moshe, just give me a sense of your state of mind right now and how the families of the 130 other hostages who are still being held in Gaza are feeling.
Yes, just a small correction. He was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nachalos, about 2 miles from the Israel-Gaza border. Our feelings are, of course, difficult. We're living in a continuous nightmare. We are following the ongoing reports regarding the negotiations. We continue our advocacy work, whether when we demonstrate and rally in Israel to remind our elected officials and our public what needs to be done, and whether we do advocacy here in the US, for example, where I am right now, or around the world. We are still optimistic that we can bring our loved ones home, that I can see my brother-in-law hug my nieces, hug my sister Lishai, but it's very difficult, and there's a lot of disinformation going to the families, and of course a lot of psychological warfare that comes from Hamas.
Do you feel that the Israeli government is doing enough to get your family back right now?
I think that the government as a government, and I think most families share it, is doing what is required of it to do. It is negotiating. It is willing to pay a significant price, painful price, for the failures of October 7. And in order to bring our loved ones home, there are elements in the government, mainly from the radical right-wing parties that are part of the coalition, that are not engaging in good faith with the families or with the general negotiations approach of the government. But overall, the government is doing what it is required to do, and we continue to encourage the elected officials to ensure that they give out to the Israeli public the message that we are going to bring home the hostages, that it is part of our ethos and social contract with the citizens.
So, that brings me just to my final question. You're in a tough spot. We hear the details of these negotiations, the order of those who are going to be released. It feels like men, are not favored in these negotiations. What is a message that you have for the world right now? What do you want people to understand about what your family is dealing with?
I think it is imperative for people to understand that everyone in captivity, in Hamas captivity, was abducted unjustly, irrespective of their gender, their age, their status, that people like Omri has a story, have a family. There's someone's children, someone's loved ones, fathers, sons, etc., and that they need to return home. My call to the general public, whether here in the US or in Israel and worldwide, is to reach out to your elected officials, remind them that these hostages are human beings, share with them their stories, amplify the voices of the hostages and their families online, on the streets, go to rallies and demonstrate. Make sure that the issue of the hostages is not forgotten, because it is a humanitarian crisis, a multi-faith crisis, an international crisis, and we need to see them back home. We need to remind our politicians to bring them home, and we need to unite as a public in order to ensure they are above the toxic political discourse.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining us, Moshe. Of course, we're praying for you, praying for your family, thinking about Omri and his daughters, of course, and hopefully we are going to see a negotiated ceasefire deal passed soon.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you.